Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture of the course Digital Signal Processing. In the previous lecture, we have introduced the concept of sampling of discrete time signals. We have seen the time domain as well as the frequency domain analysis for the same. Now in this lecture, let us look at something interesting. So for that, we are going to consider a discrete time signal, say x of n. So we have this x of n as discrete time signal. And in this lecture, we are going to analyze a signal given as xt of n, which is calculated or defined as x of dn. So let us try to analyze this signal x of dn using a simple example where this d is equal to 2. So what we will do is we will consider this d as 2, and let us consider x of n as an example signal which is given as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, where this 1 is located at n equal to 0. So now if we try to find the values or sequence for this xt of n which is derived from this x of n, so what we have is, suppose I consider n equal to 0, then xd of 0 is given as x of 0, which comes out to be 1. Then for n equal to 1, we have xd of, we have this d as 2, so we need to find x of 2n for our considered example. So we need to find, so we have xd of 1 as x of 2. So this 2 is located at n equal to 1 and this 3 is located at n equal to 2. So the value that we get here is 3. Similarly, if I consider n equal to 2, then I have xd of 2 is equal to x of 4, which comes out to be 5. Now if I consider the value of n, if I consider the value of n as 3, then this 2n will be giving me the value as 6, and as we observe here, this 6 is basically located at n equal to 5, and after this, that is after n equal to 5, x of n is 0. So we are having only these three values that belong to xd of n. So basically what we have is, we have this initial discrete time signal as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we find the signal xt of n, which is given as x of 2n, and it is obtained as 1, 3 and 5, and this 1 is located at n equal to 0 and this one here is also located at n equal to 0. Now if we observe here, what we can conclude is, we are retaining this 1, we are discarding this 2, we are retaining this 3, but we are discarding this 4, we are retaining this 5, and we are discarding this 6. So in this case where d equal to 2, we are discarding d minus 1 number of samples between these two. So basically d minus 1 number of samples are discarded, whereas this first sample, then dth sample, then d plus 1th sample is retained. So we refer to this as decimation of x of n by a factor d, and for our case this d is considered as 2. So why decimation? Because we are considering one sample, then ignoring some or discarding d minus 1 samples, and then considering the dth sample. So out of d samples in total, we are just considering only one sample and decimating the remaining one. So therefore this equation or this relation is known as decimation of x of n by a factor d. In general, decimation by a factor of d can be given as xt of n, which is defined as x of dn. So this is decimation by a factor of d. Now let us try to analyze this further using the same example. So we have this x of n as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now let us consider sampling of this x of n. So let us consider sampling x of n with the sampling factor n equal to d equal to 2. So what we are having is x hat of n is equal to, we are going to retain this 1, then this n minus 1 which is equal to 1, samples are made 0, so we are having this 2 as 0, then we retain this 3, then again 0, we retain this 5 and then again 0. Now let us try to find out the value of x hat of 2n, and if we try to do that, then we are going to retain this 1, then we are going to discard this 0, so we don't have this 0 in that sequence, then we have this 3, then we discard this 0, and then we have 5 and again we discard this 0. So this is the value of x hat of 2n. And now if we look at the value of x of 2n, that is also 135, and x hat of 2n is also 135. So what we observe is this x hat of 2n is equal to x of 2n, which is equal to xt of n. So this can be understood better graphically. So we have this x of n which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the sampled version, that is 1, 0, 3, 0, 5, 0, and this is the decimated version of both of them. So we retain this 1 as it is, then we discard this 1 here, then we discard this value at n equal to 1 here, that is we don't consider this 2, we consider this 3 that we have here, that is located now at 1, then we discard this 4, we retain this 5 at n equal to 2 and discard this 6. Similarly here we retain this 1 here, then we discard this 0, then we retain this 3, that is here, we discard this 0, we retain this 5, that is here, and discard this 0. So this is what we have in case of decimation by a factor of d. So main observations till now is that if we are given a signal x of n, and if we sample this signal, we sample it by a factor of say n equal to d, where this n is the sampling factor, so we get x hat of n, and if we perform decimation of both of them, then we have xt of n is equal to x of dn is equal to x hat of dn. So point to be noted is that this sampling factor as well as the decimation factor is considered to be same in this case. So this is what happens in the time domain. So now let us try to understand what happens in the frequency domain. So we know that frequency domain analysis can be done using the discrete time Fourier transform or DTFT. So we need to find what is the discrete time Fourier transform of this decimated signal, that is xt of n. So let's say its Fourier transform is given by xt of omega. So what we have is this xt of omega is equal to summation n running from minus infinity to infinity, so let's say xt of n into e to the power minus j omega n. Now this xd of n is equal to x of dn. So we will consider a generalized case where this xd of n is given as x of dn. So what we have here is summation n running from minus infinity to infinity xt of n. So we have x of dn into e to the power minus j omega n. So we have xt of omega is equal to summation n running from minus infinity to infinity x of dn into e to the power minus j omega n. Now we will make a small substitution here, that is we will substitute this m as dn, and therefore what we have is this n as m by d. So now if we check the limits, then as n is ranging from minus infinity to infinity, this m will also range from minus infinity to infinity. But now if we observe this equation here carefully, we know that this n is basically an integer. So this n is an integer, which means that this m has to be in multiples of this d. So in order to this n to be an integer, this m should be in multiples of d. So therefore what we have is xt of omega given as summation m, which is multiples of d, from minus infinity to infinity x of n e to the power minus j omega n. So this is what we have. Now if we observe our x hat of n, so if we observe this x hat of n, so this x hat of n can be written as, say, x of 0, then we have some d minus 1 number of zeros, we have d minus 1 number of zeros, then we have x of d, and the same thing is repeated. So if we consider this x hat of n, then we can say that x hat of n is equal to x of n if n is a multiple of d and it is equal to 0 otherwise. So if we observe this summation here, we are having it as m is as multiples of d and from minus infinity to infinity, and we have this x of n. So we can just replace this x of n by x hat of n. So basically it is x of m here. So we have x of m here. So we can just replace this x of m by x hat of m and vary this m from minus infinity to infinity. So we can write it as summation m running from minus infinity to infinity, and we have a factor of d here because we are substituting this n as m by d. So we have a factor of m here. So we can have a x hat of m into e to the power minus j omega m by d. So this is what we have. We can have a small change of variable, that is we can just replace this m by n. So what we have is x hat of xt of omega is equal to summation n running from minus infinity to infinity x hat of n into e to the power minus j omega by d into n. So now if we observe this factor here, we can say that it is basically the Fourier transform of x hat of n. So we are considering this sampled version signal x hat of n having a Fourier transform of x hat of omega. So this is the Fourier transform of x hat of n, but now this omega is basically scaled by a factor of d. So this is what we have as xd of omega is equal to x hat of omega by d, where this d is the decimation factor. So we have his d as decimation factor. Now we had seen that in the previous lecture we had seen that this x hat of omega, this x hat of omega can be given as 1 by n. Here the decimation factor as well as the sampling factor is d, so it is 1 by d summation k running from minus infinity to infinity x of omega minus k times omega s. So now if we consider this factor of d here, so if we consider this scaling factor, then this xt of omega can be given as 1 by d summation k running from minus infinity to infinity x of omega by d minus k times omega s. So this is basically the Fourier transform of x hat of n, and we had derived this in the previous lecture. So this is what we obtain as the Fourier transform of the decimated signal. So this is the Fourier transform of decimated signal, or let's say xt x of dn. Now what we have is, we have x of n, we are decimating it by a factor of d, so we are obtaining x of dn. Now this process can also be considered as, we have x of n, we sample it by a factor of d, then we get this x hat of n, and then we perform decimation by a factor of d and we obtain x hat of dn. Similarly, in the frequency domain we have x of omega, then we perform the sampling, we obtain x hat of omega, and then when we perform decimation we obtain x hat of omega by d. Now we know that when we obtain this x hat of omega from x of omega, then we obtain n minus 1 number of replicas from 0 to 2 pi range. But here the value of n is d, so we would be obtaining d minus 1 replicas in range of 0 to 2 pi, and this range, these replicas would be then scaled by a factor of d. So if we have omega d equal to some number, say omega naught, then we would be having omega naught scaled by a factor of d. So we observe that the omega axis is scaled by a factor of d. So let us try to understand this with an example. So let us consider d as 2. So in that case we have x of, say, x d of omega given as x hat of omega by 2. We know that this x hat of omega is given as 1 by 2 summation k running from minus infinity to infinity x of omega minus k times omega s. Now we know that this omega s is given as 2 pi by d, so that comes out to be 2 pi by 2, which is equal to pi. So therefore x hat of omega is equal to 1 by 2 summation k running from minus infinity to infinity x of omega minus k pi. So this is the value of x hat of omega, and once we have this x hat of omega, we just need to scale or stretch this by a factor of 2. So let us try to understand it graphically. So suppose this is the Fourier transform of x of omega, and let us assume that this omega m is the maximum frequency of this signal. So let this omega m be maximum frequency. Moreover, we know that this Fourier transform of discrete time signals are periodic with a period 2 pi. So we would be having replicas of this Fourier transform at 2 pi, minus 2 pi, then at 4 pi, and so on. So every integer multiple of 2 pi we would be having such replicas. Now the Fourier transform of the sampled version, that is x hat of omega, is given by 1 by 2 summation k running from minus infinity to infinity x of omega minus k times omega, which means that we would be having the replicas of omega by 2, x of omega by 2 at k equal to 0 and k equal to pi. Then we would be having it at minus pi as well as at every integer multiple of pi. So that can be observed here. This x hat of omega is having a magnitude of 1 by 2, that is scaled 1 by 2. Then we have a replica at pi, at 2 pi, at minus pi, and minus 2 pi. And once we have this replicas, the next thing that we do is decimation. That is, we have this xt of omega as x hat of omega by 2. So in that case, we had seen that the omega axis is scaled by a factor of 2, which means that the frequency or the value that was initially available at minus pi will now be available at minus 2 pi. Similarly, whatever thing that was available at pi will now be available at 2 pi. Similarly, this factor of omega m would be again scaled by 2, so that would be available at 2 times omega m, and this minus omega m would be available at minus 2 times omega m. So if we observe this x of omega and if we observe this x hat of omega by 2, then we are obtaining some kind of stretching effect in the frequency domain. Now if we observe the time domain plots, so this was our original signal and this is the decimated signal, we observe that we are having some kind of shrinking effect. So we are having shrinking effect in time domain, whereas if we observe the frequency domain plots, we are having some kind of stretching effect or expansion. So in decimation, we have shrinking in time domain and expansion in frequency domain. So we have observed that this expansion is being observed in the frequency domain. Now it may happen that the decimation factor is such that this expansion is located in such a way, this expansion happens in such a way that this maximum frequency exceeds this point, which means that we have a scenario which is something like this. So we have a decimation in such a way that the scaling or the stretching of this x of omega, or let's say x hat of omega, is in such a way that this maximum frequency point exceeds this point here, and we have some kind of overlapping, which means that we are completely distorting the signal. So now in this case, the Fourier transform which we are left with is something like this. So we have it like this, which is the blue one that I am drawing now. So this is the Fourier transform which we are left with, and this is completely undesired thing, because we can never get back the original signal if we get this completely distorted plots. So in order to avoid this, what we do is we use some kind of filtering. That is, what we do is we consider a filter something like this. Now as we are in the discrete domain, that is for frequency domain for discrete Fourier transform, so we would be having the replicas of this filter at -2 pi as well as at 2 pi. So something like this. So what we are considering is low pass filter with cutoff frequency say omega c. So we are having the cutoff frequency as omega c, and once we do this filtering, the signal we are left with is given like this. So this is the signal that we obtain when we multiply the initial Fourier transform, that is x of omega, with h of omega. Let's say it is given by h1 of omega, and once we have this h1 of omega and then perform the decimation, then in that case the Fourier transform of the decimated signal will be looking something like this. So we would be having it scaled properly, but there would be no overlapping. So if we observe this plot here, so this overlapping is basically aliasing of frequencies. So this is basically aliasing, and as we are avoiding this aliasing by use of these low pass filters, so these low pass filters are referred as anti-aliasing filters. So these low pass filters are referred as anti-aliasing filters. So in this lecture, we basically looked at the decimation of discrete time signal. We saw that decimation of a discrete time signal x of n with a factor of d is given as xt of n, which is equal to x of dn. So what we do is we just retain every dth sample, whereas the d minus 1 samples between them are completely discarded. We saw the frequency domain representation, that is the Fourier transform, which is obtained as xt of omega, which is equal to x hat of omega by d, which comes out to be 1 by n summation k running from -infinity to infinity x of omega d minus k times omega s, where this n is basically equal to d. So it is 1 by d summation k running from -infinity to infinity x of omega d minus k times omega s. Now basically, why are we doing this decimation? So now let us try to understand the need of it. We have seen that we are obtaining some kind of scaling of this omega axis. So suppose I have some frequency at omega axis, so this new omega is basically omega naught into d. Now we know that this scaling of omega axis is occurring Now we know that this omega can be represented as say 2 pi f by fs dash. I am representing this as fs dash because this is the new omega axis which is obtained after scaling. And this omega naught is the original omega axis, so I can just represent it as 2 pi f by fs into d. So basically this fs is sampling frequency of x of n. Now if we just cancel out the common terms, that is 2 pi f and 2 pi f on either side, and take the reciprocal, so what we have is fs dash is equal to fs by d. So this fs dash is the sampling frequency of the new signal. So this is sampling frequency of xt of n. So what we are observing here is we are obtaining a reduction in the sampling frequency. That is, we are reducing sampling frequency by a factor of d, and therefore this decimation process is also known as downsampling. Now this downsampling process can also be considered as a resampling, and this is required in many cases in which we have a signal of some particular frequency but the system is designed for some different sampling frequency. In that case we need to resample them to the same frequencies. Moreover, it may happen that we need to process two different signals of different sampling frequencies for some particular aim. So in that case again we need to do this downsampling or resampling. So this decimation helps in changing of the sampling frequency. So therefore, apart from this, we also saw that the sampling frequency is scaled by a factor of fs by d. So this decimation is also known as this downsampling. So in this lecture we considered the decimation in time domain and its effects in the frequency domain, and also saw the need for it. So let's stop here. Thank you.